Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Andre. I'm the Executive Director of the Philadelphia Tax Review Board. With me today is our entire board with our chair, Nancy Kamerdiener, Paula Weiss, George Matthews, Ryan Boyer, and Dominique Ward. Please be aware that this is a public hearing and it is being recorded. Because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no expectation of privacy. And by continuing to be in this meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. This recording will be posted onto our website. At this time, I'm going to give control of the board to our chair, Nancy Kamerdiener, whose name is Callan right now.
I forgot to change it. Sorry about that, folks.
Just in case anybody's watching, they're like, who's Nancy Kamerdiener? And then I'm going to place case number 4 in the room and set that room up. Nancy, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Item number 2 on our agenda for Millennium Hotel Group has been continued for settlement to be finalized. This is one that was added earlier today. So if you had an early listing, you might not have seen that as a continuation. Item number 3, AP Canterbury Court LLC has also been continued to complete a settlement. Items 5 and 6 for David Paris, last 4 digits of the docket 9051 and 9052 have been withdrawn. That leaves us now to deal with 2 case matters that are coming before us. The first of those is for item number 4, TR Philadelphia LP, last 4 digits of the docket 9207. And I believe they're in the room right now. So if you could identify yourselves for the record, please.
Sure. This is William Dion with the law firm of Silverang, Rosford and Holtzman. And I have with me...
he needs to identify himself, please.
Oh, sure.
Hi, I'm Anthony Michael Rupo. I'm the owner of TR Philadelphia LP, or I guess the managing director.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Who has this matter for the city?
Good afternoon, board. Michelle Reinhardt for the city of Philadelphia.
Okay. Do you have others with you who need to be identified and sworn?
Yes. Eileen Fonseca is going to read the financials for this case, and Inspector Thomas Rybakowski is going to testify in this case as well.
Okay, if each of them could identify themselves for the record.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Eileen Fonseca with License and Inspections.
Thomas Rybakowski, RYBAKOWSKI, City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Fonseca, do you have the numbers for the record on this matter?
Yes, I do. This is for the property located at 5554 Baltimore Avenue. This is for a demolition bill. Bill date is September 28th of 2021. Bill number is 724962. Principal amount is $31,221 even. The administrative charge is $6,556.41. Unfortunately, I did not have any access to the interest for this specific bill. So that total is $37,777.41.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to add to that? Or is that all that you have right now?
That's all that I have right now.
Okay. Does the city have anything else as an introduction before we turn to the petitioner?
As an introduction, I think the only thing I would like to add is that the parties have had conversations over the last few months. So I believe that there are a number of facts that as we go through the case that we're likely to stipulate to. So if it will move things along, if the petitioner pauses at some point in order to ask for a stipulation, I am agreeable to putting that on the record for anything that we've previously discussed.
Okay, so we'll turn to the petitioner then and hear from them. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, please continue.
Yeah, sure. I have I guess the summary that Ms. Reinhardt put together for the city. And I think I'm going to have Mr. Rufo testify to a couple of fact items, but a couple of preliminary things to just point out for the board. The January 23rd, 2018 notice that went out, and along with the March 23rd, 2018 notice, they were both sent out to Mr. Rufo. He does acknowledge receiving them. And I would note that they're both listed as a case number 619397. And they both list under location, it says collapsed front Bilco doors. And I think the city in the petition itself is saying that this matter's been going on for 2 years. You'll hear Mr. Rufo testify to the work that he did do after those notices came out to correct that. And then the notice that was sent in February 24 of 2020, it's our position that that is in fact a new notice. It is not a continuation of the actual notices that were sent in 18. And by that point, two things I'll point out on that exhibit. It now references a new case number. So the February 24, 2020 notice references a case number of 724962 and has a completely different reference to a code violation number and a issue. It says roof and exterior walls. And Mr. Rufo will testify that he never received this notice, and it is worth noting that it is not sent to the address where the tax bills are sent. It is actually sent to the property itself, which is a vacant property, and it was posted. We'll acknowledge it was posted in the picture they had, but it being a vacant property, Mr. Rufo did not receive that, and the city moved to commence demolition within a matter of weeks after that notice, and Mr. Rufo never had the opportunity to correct the violations that were never brought to his attention. And Mr. Rufo will show that if there's ever been any issues with the city on this property in the past, he's always corrected them. So that's I think the essence of the dispute or the issue before the board.
Any questions from board members at this point before we turn to the city? Okay, I guess.
Wait,
Go.
are you going to have your client testify to any of this?
Yes, I am.
Are you going to have your client testify to any of this?
Yes, I am.
Yes. So Nancy, we're staying with the petitioner at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Then please continue to give us information about this matter. I thought you wanted to go back to the city for a moment, but please do continue with your testimony.
Sure. So with Mr. Rufo sworn in, I'll just ask him a few questions. So, Mr. Rufo, could you just state your full name for the board?
Is Anthony Michael Rufo, R-U-F-O.
And what is your position with TR Philadelphia LP?
Okay, so I would be the managing partner, I guess, technically.
Okay. And Mr. Rufo, what line of business are you in? What do you do for a living?
The contracting and development.
And how long have you been doing that?
You see, July 1st will be 50 years.
Okay. Do you do work in the city of Philadelphia?
All the time.
Are you familiar with the city's notice requirements, their property maintenance requirements?
Yes, sir, for many years.
Do you own a lot of properties in the city itself?
I do.
Okay. You heard me reference the violation notice dated January 23rd of 2018, and I referenced the case number of 619397. And I also, I have it in front of me, but it also says location collapsed Bilco front doors. Did you ever receive this notice?
I did.
Okay. And then similarly, there's a notice that the city sent out that's dated March 13th of 2018, also with the case number 619397, with a violation referencing a collapsed Bilco door. Did you receive that notice?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do after you received that notice, Mr. Rufo?
I went down and repaired what they call Bilco doors. They weren't actually Bilco doors. They were a vault plate with openings, we would call that, on a electrical vault that actually runs under the city sidewalk. We could bring power down the street, tees off to the buildings, tees off to the trolley lines, but it's really a way of getting to the bus work of the power that's running down the street. So it's not really a Bilco door, but I can understand why somebody wrote it like that. That's the second half of the violation. The first half is talking about exterior roofs and stairs and all that, and there's no building there, so I'm not even sure what that means. I never did understand it.
After you received these notices, did you contact anyone at the city of Philadelphia to look into what needed to be done?
Yes.
All right, and who did you speak with?
DeSantoro or something like that actually met me down there.
Okay,
I showed him what I was going to do to repair them.
wait,
I'm sorry.
so you contacted someone at the city, and did you meet someone at the city down there?
Yes,
Okay, and was it this Mr. DeSantoro? Is that what you're saying his name was?
yeah, sorry, I can look at my paperwork and come up with that name. I might be pronouncing it wrong, but obviously he was an inspector for L&I at the time.
Okay, and when you met him at the city, met the individual from the city at the property, what did you discuss with him?
I discussed with him these logo doors, and I showed him, said, look, there's no building here, so how can I fix the roofs of the building? There's no building.
Okay, so what repair work did you do after that meeting?
Okay, I bolted down plate steel. They really weren't in disrepair. I wasn't gonna argue with anybody, so I just bolted down new steel permanently and a trap door to make it very easy for any of the employees of Pico to be able to open it without a key.
Okay. And have you received any other notices? When did you originally purchase this property, mind if I back up?
Two.
Okay, and then since that time period, have you ever had any other notices, not the ones we're even speaking of today or referencing? Have you had any other notices?
Yes.
Okay, have
Yes.
you corrected all those notices with the city?
Yes,
Are you aware of any other open notices with the city other than this one?
no,
Okay. Now, the 2000, I refer to the 2024 notice. It has a case number of 724962. Did you ever receive this notice?
no.
All right, can you read where it's addressed to?
Just the 5554 Baltimore, that is the address of the building itself.
Is there a mailbox there?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so if anything's sent to the property, would you receive it?
No,
Okay. I noticed that this is noticed, February 24th, 2020, and it also has the city's provided pictures of a posting of the property. Do you ever have an opportunity to get by the property with any regularity?
I used to think back then everything got slowed up because of the non-work issue by the city over COVID
So
situation.
are you referencing what happened really starting in March of 2020?
Yes.
Okay, so when did you first find out that the city had even demolished or had taken down the property? When did you first learn that?
Long after this, when I received the bill.
Okay, and that's the first notice, and that's the notice of this appeal that you took an appeal to.
Yes.
Okay, and then the work itself, I guess you're in the line of business, so you have an understanding of what they did. Would you briefly describe for the board what your opinion is on the work that was performed, the necessity of it, and the quality of it?
Okay, good.
Objection. I would just like to note that we haven't heard anything regarding or this witness hasn't been qualified as an expert.
Well, I would say he's been in construction for 50 years, so I don't know if I'm asking a construction question, how he wouldn't be equipped to handle that question or answer it.
We don't know what his construction background has been in that time, any certifications, any experience. And I would say that there is a wide range of experience in the construction industry and
Okay,
a wide range of specialties.
can I further clarify the petitioner's qualifications?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Mr. Rupert, when you say you're in the line of construction, what have you ever done any demolition work in the city of Philadelphia?
Yes.
Okay, and would you say you've done more than 10 projects, 50 projects, 100 demolition projects in the city of Philadelphia? How many in the 50 years?
I'm guessing 100, probably more.
And then in the construction, how many construction, I'll say, let's just say commercial construction, not residential. How many commercial projects would you have said you've done, either rehabilitation or actual physical new construction?
In the city?
Yes.
I'd say 300-400.
Okay. I'd ask that Mr. Roofer be recognized as an expert in the construction of both demolition and new construction.
I don't think that's quite enough to be recognized as an expert. We don't have any documentation, any curriculum vitae, anything to really establish the qualifications of what any of that means in terms of his actual participation in any of those. So I don't know that we would qualify him as an expert in this field. He can answer the question based on his personal experience, and we will accept that and determine for ourselves the value of it.
Okay, well, I'll ask some very specific questions so the board can decide his reliability. So, Mr. Rufo, the sidewalk repair that was done as part of this work, what were your concerns with the sidewalk repair that was done as part of this?
Okay, if you were to go look at the sidewalk and the pieces of sidewalk that they repaired the whole sidewalk. how they overlapped onto the curb, which is already breaking off, and how they covered that. This is the thing that worries me. They've covered the trough access that I provided. So now, God forbid, something and wires on the ground do explode. If something goes wrong, those electricians cannot get under there to take care of it.
But let's explain this a little bit more. So the electrical vault that's underneath the sidewalk,
Yes,
where there used to be access to it, it's now concreted over.
it's now concreted over. I don't think they knew what they were looking at. Whoever did the concrete.
So in your opinion, does that need to be removed and repaired so there's access to the electrical vault below?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then there was a numerous concrete slab that was removed as part of this work.
That's on the interior.
Okay. The concrete slab that was removed from the work, was that in any danger of falling over?
No,
Was anyone in there walking on it? Did they have access to it?
I don't have. My imagination can't imagine why they removed all that concrete slab. If that property is, say, 8,000 to 9,000 square feet of floor, let's say, there's a concrete slab on top of it. 90% of that 9,000 square foot was covered with concrete. But why they had to remove that, I have no idea.
Okay. And now your access to the property, they put a fence up on the property. Do you have a gate or is there any way to get access to
No,
it?
they just strung a 4-foot fence across the property. I don't know why they wouldn't give me a gate.
Okay.
But I will like to mention they removed a wall that was a 2-foot bond beam wall, which was a great barrier to stop people from getting into this property, which was secured to 2 openings. It was set up kind of like a storefront, big window, a door, storefront, big window, and a door. They were secured, and there was one door in the middle left open so people could access in and out of it. Why they had to take that down, I have no idea. There was nothing dangerous about that wall. It was 2-foot poured concrete, steel reinforced. It wasn't going anywhere. And whoever took it down worked hard to get that wall down.
I have no other further questions for Mr. Rufo. And I guess just in summary, I would say that Mr. Rufo, his experience with this property, his other properties in the city of Philadelphia, he's always responded to the notices of violation that he's received. That is shown by what he's done on the property itself, both with what's before you and the other notice has been corrected. And the notice that went out in 2020, February 2020, is not a continuation of the notices that went out in 18. If the property was imminently dangerous, the city would not have sat around for 24 months to come back in February of 2020
Objection.
to actually do it. Well, okay, you can take notice of the fact the city sent notices in January and March of 2018, saying that the property was imminently dangerous. Mr. Rufo's testimony is that he did whatever corrective work they needed. The city, nothing occurred with regard to the property, but the city's following up on enforcement until February of 2020, almost 2 years later. And at that time issued a new violation notice on a new issue that was there. So it's our position that that is in fact a new violation notice, not a continuation. And a notice that was never sent to Mr. Rufo was mailed to the property and posted on the property. And within 8 weeks, the city started to demolish everything. So I would say that Mr. Rufo did not have reasonable notice of what was going on. And the city could have gotten in touch with them, which they've done in other ones, by sending it to the address that was listed where the taxes go. If there's any questions for Mr. Rufo, that's basically our presentation today.
I do, and I know we're going to move on to Ms. Reinhardt in a moment. What kind of structure was this?
It was a poured concrete wall, but it had cutouts because obviously at one time it was 2 storefronts. That's why it's addressed 5554-55. South, what is it? The address of the building? That's why there's 2 address numbers on it. So there was a big storefront window and an entrance door. Like, it's very typical on a retail. And then there was another one repeating it right to the left of it. But the wall itself was a poured concrete foundation. It's poured concrete wall. I've never seen it a million times. You just may not recognize it as poured concrete. But it's actually 30 inches, which is 2.5 feet thick. It was solid.
Okay, I mean, I'm looking at the violation dated 3/13/18, and while you referenced only one portion of it, I think, where it's been declared unsafe, there is a whole description about partially collapsed front wall. You only mentioned the Bilco doors, illegal electrical service connected to a street light, cracks and breaks. So it seems like from the description, there were far more issues in the body, noted in the body of the violation. And I'm wondering if you were able to address
I don't think
the,
about it.
I'm not sure what you're reading from.
I think that,
If I may clarify, it appears to be from the city exhibits, pages 13 and 14.
Of what's the document?
the violation notice itself dated 3/13/18. That I believe you acknowledged receiving.
We did, and I guess we're just not sure what section you're reading from.
Down
Here it is, partially collapsed front
on
wall.
violations, location site. There's a whole litany of description as to problems at the site beyond just a collapsed front build code doors. It goes on to say partially collapsed front wall, along with the collapsed build code doors, illegal electrical service connected to street light pole, exterior walls are not anchored to supporting or supported elements. So, it seems that the city was pointing out, and it does mean, and the location does say front wall. So I'm just wondering whether or not you addressed those additional.
Well, I will say that
Can I just want, just so we're clear, I know where you're reading from, but just so we're clear, the capitalized portion is a quote from the section 304.17. So I do want to just make that clear that that's just citing the statute. But I do see where you're saying partially collapsed front wall, collapsed build code doors, illegal electrical service connected to street light. I would say that's only the ones that are site specific, if that makes sense.
Okay.
here's his name.
How often did you look at
It's Babatado.
how often did you visit the property to see its condition?
I would say every 2 to 3 weeks pre-COVID.
Okay.
Me or one of the guys, one of my supers would drive by. Can I make a comment on this though?
Sure.
This is a violation she's just referred to, right? Look at the beginning of it.
Well, but that's, if you mind, that's the section of the code that said all the capital words are just a regurgitation of the code.
Okay.
This is what's specifically with regard to the property. But what I'll point out is,
Okay, this specifically says partially collapsed front wall, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right, good. There wasn't any collapse.
well, but let me ask you the question. So on this March 13th, 2018, it says Inspector DeSabatino or DeSabio. I'm mispronouncing it. Is that the individual you met with on the site?
I met him on the site and I made me another comment where it says collapsed build code door. I addressed where it said illegal electrical connection. He told me when he was there, he saw a wire coming out of the front of the building. So there was a tenant there that tapped the Pico pole. When I got there with him, it wasn't there. He said, "Oh yeah, I saw him." And I saw the cover plate off the bottom of the pole. He saw it, he knew about it. So I couldn't do anything about it. He must have got busted stealing electrical and he must have said something to him, or somebody did, and he took it off.
So let me just ask you a question, Tony. So when you met with Inspector DeSabio at the property, did you address all the concerns that he expressed to you at that meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so anything with regard to a partially collapsed front wall, collapsed build code doors, illegal electrical service, you discussed all those items, and the work that you finished, you believe corrected all the open items that the inspector pointed out to you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It really, the crux of the matter was that we're saying build code door. I think somebody's trying to pry it up to get the power. I've made it so nobody could get to it. They'll kill themselves. They don't know what's down there. Very high voltage down there.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Reinhardt?
Thank you. I do have a few follow-up questions. Mr. Rufo, you referenced, or you or your attorney, I'm not sure who specifically referenced that you responded to other notices of violation on this property historically. Do you have any copies of those notices of violation with you in order to substantiate that?
We don't have copies with us, but I can refer you to a specific one, which ironically, I assume that you can look it up in the city's records. It's case number 723253. And ironically, it was issued February 3rd of 2020. So it was issued 21 days prior to the violation notice that's an issue today. And it referenced a motor vehicle must be removed, a vacant lot cleanup, and a clip violation notice, all that were addressed and closed out by the end of February. So they were addressed and closed out by the city within 3 weeks. So that is all that can be, I did not bring the printout from the Eclipse system, but those are all on the city's electrical database and can be confirmed. If you're on mute.
Just to clarify, if Mr. Rufo can also answer whether he has any documents in order to support that position as well,
Yes, I can come back with them.
here today.
So, no.
No,
And Mr. Rufo, because you said that you were familiar with the requirements of construction practices within Philadelphia, would a building permit be needed to comply any of the violations that your attorney just listed as part of the February 3rd, 2020 notice of violation referenced?
Good question. Never tried to pull a permit for a repair of a street door.
well, you may ask, are you referring to the February 24th, 2020 notice?
Yes, the one that you just referred to as having a motor vehicle on the property, and I believe there were, I forget if it was weeds or trash involved.
So just, wait, hold on, just so you're clear. The notice number dated February 24th, 2020, dated case number 724962 is actually the violation notice that we said we never.
That is not the violation I am referring to. I'm
Okay.
referring to the one that you just referred to dated February 3rd, 2020. And you said notice of violation number 723253.
That's correct.
Referenced it as involving a motor vehicle and some other violations.
Yep.
Would a building permit be needed or any type of work permit be needed to correct any of those types of violations that were noted on that specific notice of violation?
So the motor vehicle and weeds, right? Yeah, well, I to be honest with you, like, especially those tight neighborhoods, we've gotten violations on various properties that have weeds. No, we don't go to the building permit, we just go clean it up. And as far as the car, which is inside the building, no, I just told William Farmer to get the car out of there because they had a problem with the car being on the property. I think because it wasn't an operating car, it was just, he had the motor out of it, and he got a tow truck and pulled it out. So, no, I wouldn't pull a permit for that.
Because these are all violations that could be, those specific violations were all violations that could be abated quickly without the need for a permit?
I would think so, yeah. That's what I did. You know, would the weeds grow back? Probably, you know, grass around the corners and the edges of the concrete get.
Do you have any documentation from the conversation with the inspector that you said that you had?
I would have to look for it. I'm not sure I do or I don't. Would have to look for it. Oh, with me? I don't, no.
And did you pull any permits for any of the work that was noted in the 2018 unsafe notices of violation that were previously referenced by the board?
So let's go to what? 123's violation, which is talking about the exterior steps and porches. Would you pull a permit for that? I didn't pull a permit for that Velcro door, no. No, I just went down and corrected the problem.
Did you?
I don't know if it's necessary to pull a permit for that. I have to think about that a minute. So would that be under steel repair or electrical safety? I don't know. I think that's just a basic maintenance issue. Do you really need to pull a permit for something like that? I wouldn't think. It's a
So
safety issue.
fair to say, just to make sure that I understand your testimony correctly, you did not attempt to file or pull a permit in order to comply any of the violations that were noted on the 2018 unsafe notice of violation?
Not that I remember. You know, I could probably get back to daily, you know, diary, so to speak, that we keep on.
Right.
Ms.
All
Rowan,
property. I live in
excuse me,
Florida.
I'm gonna interrupt here, but I think we can move on. I mean, I don't think that petitioners have brought that information with them, if they have it, and I think we could just move on from that.
Okay, I have no further questions for this witness.
I have nothing further to present.
Does the city have anything else to add or present for the board?
Yes, at this time, I would like to call in Supervising Inspector Thomas Rabakowski, who has been sworn. Inspector, thank you. Inspector, can you please introduce yourself for the board?
Thomas Rybakowski, City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections.
And how long have you worked for license and inspections?
Since 2014.
Do you have any certifications as part of your job?
Yes.
Can you tell us what those are?
So I hold certifications with the International Code Council, certifying that I am a building inspector and a certified plan review, or I can perform plan review as well. I also hold certifications as a building code official for the UCC, or the Uniform Construction Code, and that is for the state of Pennsylvania. The state of Pennsylvania also recognizes the ICC certifications that I hold, which makes me a building inspector in the state of Pennsylvania as well.
And as a building inspector certified by the state of Pennsylvania, does that qualify you to also act as a code official in any other jurisdictions in Pennsylvania that you may move to?
So by holding, you can perform inspections with the state of Pennsylvania with a building inspection certification, or building inspector certification through the ICC. My certifications with the state of Pennsylvania is a building code official, which means that I could essentially be a master code or the code official for multiple municipalities through the state of Pennsylvania.
Do you take any kind of continuing education classes in order to maintain these certifications?
Yes.
What is the requirement?
The requirement is I have to maintain my certifications every 3 years. And with that is there are a certain amount of continuing education credits that are required. In my case, it's approximately 45 hours every 3 years.
Have you reviewed this file in its entirety prior to this hearing?
Yes.
Did you attend the master hearing for this appeal as well?
Yes.
May I please share my screen with what has previously been marked the city's exhibits?
Yes, go ahead.
Inspector Rybakowski, have you reviewed the city's exhibits that were presented prior to this hearing?
Yes.
Are these the same as those for the master hearing with the addition of the certification that was added to the end of this exhibit packet?
Yes.
Okay. For the sake of time, I'm going to move down to what has previously been marked city exhibit, or page 13. This is an initial notice of violation and order unsafe building dated January 23rd, 2018. Inspector, can you please tell us what this notice indicates?
This is a initial notice of violation and order for a designation of a property being declared as unsafe. It is for the property at 5554 Baltimore Avenue. Again, it's first paragraph says the property was inspected and that it was declared as unsafe. The inspector that issued the violation is Inspector D. Sabato, and then it details the areas of concern. One is front collapsed and also Bilco doors. The location has front wall as well. And then the second page, which would be City Exhibit 14, has partial collapsed front wall, collapsed Bilco door, illegal electrical service connected to street light pole, and then it spells out a right to appeal.
Was there an appeal filed administratively for this notice of violation?
I do not show any record of an appeal being filed.
If there was one filed, would you have a record of it?
Yes.
What would any building permits be needed in order to legally comply any of the violations noted on this notice of violation?
This notice specifically addresses or has a notification that there is an issue with the front wall of the property, which would require a make-safe permit for the repair of this property.
And that requirement was in place in 2018 when this notice was issued?
Yes.
Was there a permit application of any type filed or applied for in any way following this notice of violation for this property?
No.
Moving to page 15 of the city's exhibits, this is it's labeled final warning, unsafe building. Date of notice is March 13th, 2018. Inspector, what does this show?
This shows that a follow-up inspection took place by the area inspector. Again, the inspector noted on the notice is Inspector D. Sabato, references the same case number, 619397, and it still indicates the property at 5554 Baltimore Avenue is still declared as unsafe, and it respells the violation notices or the violations that were issued against the property.
After this notice was sent, were there any permit applications made?
No.
Can you please tell us what city page 17 shows?
This is actually in the case record for the case written against the property at 619397. As the property was declared unsafe under that case record, it shows that the notices were delivered to the owner of record or the address at that time, and that it is a signed certified mailing.
Can you please explain to us why it is that a building permit or make safe permit would be needed to correct violations that the code official deems as constituting an unsafe property?
So in most cases, if a property is declared unsafe, a engineer is asked to perform an evaluation of the structure, provide a report to the owner, and the owner is to give that report to a licensed and insured contractor. That licensed and insured contractor is to be listed on a permit that is reviewed and issued by the department for the repair of that property. Once the property is repaired and signed off by the engineer of record that the repairs are done, then the make safe permit would be closed and the property is deemed safe. The violation or the unsafe case on that property is marked complied and closed.
And since there were no permits issued for the notices of violation, identified in the notices of violation we just saw, is it fair to say that these violations have not been marked complied?
No, they weren't marked complied. In fact, there is a notation for a follow-up inspection by the inspector, Inspector DiSabato, on May 21st of 2018, where the notation in the system is met owner on site, and owner will address necessary concerns with the property.
Going down to what has been marked city page 18. This is a final notice of violation and order, imminently dangerous building. The date of the notice is February 24th, 2020. Can you tell us what this notice indicates?
So a reinspection occurred at the property on February 22nd, 2020. That reinspection is based off of the other case not being complied. There was a reinspection done on case 619397. There's a notation in the system that that was done by Inspector Clark, who is notated on this notice of violation. That unsafe case was closed. This case in that this property continued to deteriorate to the point where the inspector felt that it was a imminent danger situation, and the property was deemed eminently dangerous and posted following that inspection.
Okay. And just to clarify, I believe that you touched on it, but I'm sorry, was there something said?
Yeah, I just,
It's all right. It just, you overheard
I
it.
was just speaking in my little.
Okay. Inspector, what violations specifically were found in this or identified in this notice of violation?
This notice of violation is the roof and the exterior walls of the structure.
And I believe you stated that they were the same concerns for the wall that were noted in the initial unsafe violation.
The initial unsafe case specifically spelled out the partial collapse or the issue with the front wall of the property. This one, as far as addressing or an area of concern in that there was no roof to this, the remaining structure, and there was a concern with the exterior walls, one being the front wall, which was already declared as unsafe by the department.
Moving to city page 20, can you tell us what this photograph shows?
This shows a close-up photograph of the eminently dangerous sticker that was posted to the front of the property.
Okay, and on city exhibit 21, is that what we're looking at?
Yes.
I am going to attempt to zoom in precisely. First of all, are you able to read the poster on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us what date this was posted?
It appears to be February 22nd of 2020.
And moving to the next page, we just lost the Bates stamp for it. This is city page 22. What does this photograph show?
This shows the front of the property with the poster affixed to the front of the property at 5554 Baltimore Avenue.
Okay. And then city 23 shows the same.
Can you flip these so that they're right side up?
I can try, yes.
Rotate them.
Thank you.
Okay. Does that show better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna just briefly scroll back up through the last view so that you're able to see them right side up. I'm scrolling through City Exhibit 24, City Exhibit 25, City Exhibit 26, 27, 28, 29.
So stop. Mr. Ribakowski, could you help us identify what we're looking at? Does this property consist only of that front wall, or are these side walls all connected? I mean, what were we talking about in terms of, I mean, we can see what the inside looks like for cleanup, obviously, but what is the structure actually?
So the structure is basically a front wall, no roof. The roof was removed at some point, and the back wall, you can see that there is loose and missing material in the back wall of the property as well. You can also see from the photographs in the earlier exhibits, with conditions of a front wall, you had multiple fractures and areas up at the top. Specifically, this photograph right here shows a fracture in the support where the concrete on top of this support post.
And were the side walls, or it was just a front and a back?
The side walls, I'm sorry, Ms. Weiss, the side walls are essentially the party walls where the wall was connected to the adjoining properties.
Thank you.
And for the record, a moment ago when the inspector referenced this photograph, were you referring to City 26?
Yes.
Okay. Inspector, I'm going to continue to move through City Exhibit 31, 32. Are these more recent pictures that show that both the department was still watching the property and that the violations existed?
These were photographs of the property being placed to bid for demolition, as there was no permit applied for the repair of the property.
And City Exhibit 33, I'm pausing on this for a moment. It is dated March 5th, 2020 at the bottom. Is that what the inside of the property looks like at the time that the property was placed to bid?
Yes.
And specifically, it appears that there's an accumulation of, or would you agree that there is an accumulation of rubbish and a number of vehicles inside of this structure?
Yes.
City Exhibit 34, does that depict the same?
Yes.
Can you tell us what we're looking at City Exhibit 36?
Another vantage point of the property at 5554 Baltimore Avenue. This shows the adjoining masonry wall, or the party wall of one of this property to an adjacent property.
And City Exhibit 41, would you agree that the violations still exist at the front wall that were concerned in the initial 2018 unsafe notice of violation?
Yes.
Okay. Pardon for a moment. I'm going to try to turn this view back in order to be more legible. Okay. Inspector, can you please tell us how the bidding process works for a demolition?
So for a property to be placed for bid for demolition, the department will contact the contractors that are part of the master demolition program. In this case, we obtained bids from 5 contractors, and they will go out, they will take a look at the properties, they will submit their bid into the department by way of the procurement office, and they are unsealed, and the lowest bidder will be awarded that bid.
And is that what happened here as well?
Yes, the department received a series of bids for the demolition of the property. The the winning bid was for $31,221.
And just to be clear, you were looking at City 43.
Yes.
Moving to City 44, what is this document?
This is the sign off from the area inspector, basically the inspector signing off that the work has been completed and that it is appropriate to send the documentation into the fiscal department to proceed with preparing the invoice to go out to the property owner.
And City 45, is that the invoice referenced?
That is the invoice from the award-winning contractor, RDS Contracting, for the property at 5554 Baltimore Avenue for the amount of $31,221 for the demolition.
The amount indicated here, is that the amount that the city actually paid for the work done?
Yes.
And can you tell us what City 46 is?
This is a letter that, or a basically a letter of that the fill that is used is a clean fill. It's basically a clean fill cert from the contractor.
And it's would it be fair to say it's a certification that the applicable laws have also been followed?
In this case, yes, that they used clean fill to fill the voids or the vacancies at grade.
If there was an issue with the work that was performed by the demolition contractor, is there a process in order to either have the contractor correct the violation or correct the issue, or pay for the correction of that work?
Yes.
And was that process started here?
There's been no record of an issue, and this demolition took place in 2020. Now it being 2023, if there was an issue with the work that was done or anything with the demolition, a filing with the risk management office would have to be submitted.
But just to be clear, there is nothing filed as of
Not
today.
that I'm aware of.
City 47 and 48, are they additional documents showing that the demolition was according to applicable laws?
So for the master demolition program, if the property is a mixed use or a commercial property, or if the department does more than two or more demolitions on a city block, the property is monitored for asbestos. In this case, this is the purchase order for that requirement.
And moving now to, it is difficult to read, but the corner says City 53. It is labeled a certification statement and dated November 21st, 2018. Can you tell us what this document is?
This is actually we refer to it as a property cert. This is actually pulled by a real estate agent or a property owner that is doing a certification for a property that is being in the interest of being sold. This is a property cert that was pulled from L&I's system and provide it to a Marsha Wolf for at 1845 Walnut Street, the 25th floor, and it spells out the violations that were issued against the property going back to when this cert was pulled, and they would be in reference to the unsafe case that was previously testified to.
And just to be clear, this is the document that was not part of the city's exhibits at the master hearing, but the rest of the exhibits were all part of that.
Correct.
And are the concerns regarding the unsafe violations still noted on this November 2018 certification?
Yes, you can see that the case number 619,397 is in the middle of the page. It's the second one down where it says department records indicate the following uncorrected violations.
If a okay. So if a violation was corrected, it would not be on here.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So just to be clear, regarding the notices that regarding the unsafe and imminently dangerous violations for this property, that the property owner should have seen include the initial and final unsafe notices of violation from 2018 and the posting on the property in February of 2020.
Not only did he see the notices of the violations for the unsafe case that was designated against the property, he met the area inspector approximately 2 months after the final notice was sent. And specifically notated in the system is that the owner made the statement that the repairs were going to be made. And then there was no permit for the repairs. There was nothing done with the property to make the property safe structurally. The department went and did an inspection and declared the property eminently dangerous, and then still no action by the owner, and the property was demolished.
Inspector, does the property need to be designated as imminently dangerous in order for the department to demolish it?
No. So on the unsafe designation, the initial notice does have language that if the property is not repaired, the city can in fact demolish it at that time.
And is this something that is also generally known in the Philadelphia construction industry, that unsafe properties can be demolished by the city?
Yes.
If no action is taken in order to correct the violations?
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions for the inspector.
I'm ready to go to the back if the rest of my board members are.
Can I ask a couple of questions to Mr.?
We're going to ask if the petitioner has any crossing.
Yeah.
Just a few questions to Mr. And I just make sure I pronounce it. Rybakowski, is that correct?
Rybakowski, it's exactly how it's spelled.
Okay.
I know it's 10 letters, but
I will attempt not to mutilate it.
that's okay. Tom's fine.
Have you ever been to the property?
I have not, no.
Okay, so would it surprise you to learn that the rear wall that you're referencing, that is, you're saying is part of the structure, part of this property, is in fact not part of the property, it's part of the rear, the properties to the rear? Would that surprise you?
If that's what you're saying.
Okay. You mentioned that your records show that there was a meeting on site with Mr. DeSabito. I'm mutilating his name, I apologize.
Yes.
Okay, so that would, what does it show when that meeting took place?
May 21st of 2018.
Okay. And if I can ask you, can you explain why the city would have sent notice violations both January 23rd of 18 and March 13th of 18, both to the address of 441 East Hector Street in Conshohocken, PA, but then their notice of February 24th, 2000 would have gone to the property itself? Do you understand why they would have made that change in the address?
No,
Okay. Would you acknowledge that that's actually the property address?
that is the property address, yes.
You referenced as far as the work being completed in, when did you reference that the demolition work was completed?
It was completed on the one exhibit for the, it's the payout slip. It's the sign from the area inspector, Inspector White. I don't
Okay.
have the exhibit number in front of me.
Would May of 2020 surprise you, or would that be about when you would think it was?
That would be about correct, yes.
And do you know when the bill was actually issued by the city?
I don't have that date in front of me.
Okay, would it almost a year and a half later, September of 2020, surprise you?
September of 2020?
September 21, I apologize. Almost a year and a half later.
Well, you said September of 2020.
September 28th of 2021. I apologize if I said 20.
Okay.
Would it surprise you that the city sent the bill out almost a year and a half later? Is that typical?
I don't know, because that would be the procurement or the fiscal office. That would not be my unit specifically.
Okay, so when you say that a complaint could have been filed with regard to the work, you'd have to know that the work was completed, correct?
I'm sorry?
In order to complain about the work, you'd have to know that the work was in fact completed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then the reference, and I apologize, I forget what it's called, but it was the last exhibit Mrs. Reinhardt referenced you to. Can anyone request those printouts? You have to be the property owner to request the printout that Mrs. Reinhardt showed you at the very end of your testimony.
It depends on what documentation that you're asking for. Sometimes a right to know would have to be filed with the department.
But it was addressed to a Marcia Wolf. She had you reference it. And review it showed that in November of 2018, there were still open violation notices. Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay. Can anyone request that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. I have nothing further.
Do any board members have questions at this point before we consider stepping aside to discuss the case? Not hearing anything. Did the city have anything else to add? I think you've already covered your pieces as well.
I have, but
Want to double check before we step aside to consider.
if I can just say one thing, it's just a brief summary. I mean, I guess, Mr. Rufo has been very upfront of what he's done and what he hasn't done. I guess the 2018 notices that he received and actually met with the city inspector addressed what he considered minor issues that would not necessitate permits. At that point, for over 2 years, nothing happens with the property. And the next notice that comes out is that they're going to demolish the buildings and it's sent to the property and not the address that they've been using. So I just find it that the city is not necessarily without its own fault as far as making sure the property owner knows what's going on and actually notifying them almost 2 years later after he had a meeting and thought it was rectified.
Thank you.
If
Anything else from the board before we step aside?
I think the city just wants to give a brief closing.
Okay,
just brief, thank you. I would just like to note that
Sir,
can you turn your mic off? There.
in testimony, Mr. Rufo described extensive work that he's performed within the city and described himself as having a significant amount of construction experience within the city itself. He agrees that he received and actually reviewed the 2018 unsafe notices of violation, that he met with the inspector, that he discussed the violations specifically at the property themselves. Members of the board, you have reviewed the photographs taken in 2020, that you were able to see what the property looked like itself. I would also add that it does not appear that the motor vehicle issue or the accumulation of trash that was indicated in the February 2020 notice of violation was corrected by the owner in a timely manner, as those violations also still existed in each of the city's pictures at that time. And again, no permits were pulled in order to do the work. The owner further testified that he did not know that the demolition work was completed until a year and a half later, until the invoice came in, indicating that he was not present at the property. He did not continue to look at the violations that he knew that the city had safety structural concerns for, and that he had an affirmative duty in order to correct. So for that reason, I would request that no relief be granted here.
Thank you.
Okay,
We're ready to step aside?
Yes.
okay. If everyone can just hold tight, the board is gonna go into a breakout room and be back as soon as possible.
Well, building. Even if you the wall to certify is talking about it's not the building, there's no freaking building.
Just to let you know, your microphone is not muted. I'm not sure what you are
I don't
talking
think that
about.
works.
But
We keep trying to mute it, but I don't think it works.
okay,
Before you mute it, the court reporter just wants to confirm the spelling of the attorney's name.
Sure. Are we muted or are we on?
Well, you can be on for spelling your name.
Okay, well, it's William. The last name's Dion, D as in David, I-O-N,
Okay, and you're with the law firm of,
Silverang, Rosenzweig, and Holtzman.
okay, perfect. All right, thank you. And I don't know that you can mute that room. You just will have to be conscious of your conversation.
Okay,
You're not on the official record, but they do record it, so.
that's okay, I appreciate it.
When I got this guy Tom, he's like, yeah, it's really good. I said, look at this, dude, I voted for 6 people. Somebody's gonna be hurt. I'm fixing it tomorrow. I said, "It's really good."
Oh, wait, just come back in. Michelle, can you hear me?
Yes.
So appeals from this board go to what, the Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia? Is that what ends up happening?
Yes, statutory appeals, they're done as statutory appeals. And I believe they typically go to the motions judges.
Okay, all right, just have never done it. Okay, appreciate it. Are you working from home or are you in the office now?
I'm in the office, yeah.
Do they require you guys to be back in?
Only 2 days a week. If
Okay.
we don't already have, in-person hearings and trials and
Okay,
everything else, which usually equates to more than 2 days a week.
right.
I feel like I've seen you all over the place. So I know you're busy as well.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I parts of it I like the Zoom, parts of it I don't. I think sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Ryan.
We just grabbed a client.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, the client is not in the room, Nancy. Just hold tight. I think he might have,
Right, I thought that was the case.
and then we lost
Oh.
Ryan.
I apologize, he stepped out, he's using the facility, so I might want to continue on without him.
No,
Are you sure?
fine.
Okay,
I can,
okay. Nancy?
Okay, the board's reached a decision. Under our decision, we indicate that that administratively, we feel the city didn't act in a timely manner, that they waited too long to correct or demolish. Final notice went to the wrong address, though the property was posted. Those are our observations along the way there. It's our decision to waive the administrative fee and ask for a payment agreement within 30 days. Do any of the board members have anything to add or amend from what I have indicated?
Oh, this is Paula Weiss. I concur.
George Matthews, I concur.
We have Ryan.
He looked like he dropped off, but I knew he concurred. But go ahead, Nancy. That's we
Okay,
have
and Nancy Cameron, I concur.
okay.
Are
Appeal.
there any? Paul, I didn't get Paula's. I'm sorry.
No, she went first.
Oh, she went first.
Appeal rights? Appeal rights, Nancy? You have 30 days to appeal?
I didn't mention that. I'm sorry. I asked for a payment agreement within 30 days, but I should have indicated before that you have the right to appeal within 30 days to the Court of Common Pleas. And if that does not occur, then agreement should be made in terms of payment.
a quick question, just procedurally, the payment agreements, do I deal with Michelle directly or is there another individual I should contact with regard to a payment agreement?
So what happens is you'll get our decision letter in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then you'll get an adjusted bill. Well, actually, L&I is a little different in that they wait for you to file an appeal and then they adjust the account. Am I correct, Michelle? Ms. Reinhardt?
Candidly, I I don't know that answer, so I can work with council in order to get that answer.
Yeah. Generally, the Department of License and Inspection will send out a bill, and then you'll make the payment agreement when you get that bill. But that's often after the 30 days of our decision letter, which would then, allow you not to decide. Yeah.
Goes back and forth. I'm sorry, I was kind of cryptic about the way I was stating it. I was reading my notes as opposed to putting it into full sentences. I apologize. Any other questions before we close on this matter? I guess not. Thank you very much for coming in. And if there are any follow-up things, please let us know and we can see about answering them if we've overlooked something.
Okay, the next case is number 1.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, wait, this is one thing up. So they're basically, well, here, they're done. You're moving on to another matter, so we're gonna step out, right?
Yes, please. Somebody else is coming in for another case.
Did you guys want to talk or something?
Yeah, we can have it, yeah, great, thank you.
We can have an extra.
Thank you.
I'm not sure where the petitioner went. If you could just give me 1 second, he was here.
Okay, maybe they got tired of
We
waiting.
lost the petitioner.
We lost the petitioner. Oh, I'm gonna go on this way.
Hi, everyone. So the petitioner, Mr. Yakubov, he was here. I saw him. He is not here anymore. He told my staff that he had to leave. And so he said he would request a continuance. That's all I have to
How
provide.
many continuances has he had?
Well, I'm going to be honest. He has several denied, not appears. I'm going to read from the record. His first hearing was at the master level. It was on December 15th of 2021, and he failed to appear. He requested a rehearing or another hearing. We gave him another one on April 6th of 2022. Again, he failed to appear on that hearing. He then requested another hearing. We gave him another, these are all at the master level. We gave him another one on March 22nd of 2023. He failed to appear. Because he failed to appear to more than 3 master level hearings. That's why he was bumped up to the board, and he was here and now he is no longer.
No, denied, did not appear, denied for failure to appear, no further hearings.
It is just for the information and for the record, on the invoice that was received by the petitioner, the total payment due was $139.90. And so that is something we probably should take a look at as well. I'm actually surprised that he came for that many hearings with that kind of.
He didn't come.
He didn't come.
He didn't
Well,
come.
I mean,
Failure
he
to appear.
applied for them. I shouldn't say came.
All right, I'm marking this case as no further hearings, that the petitioner was present, but he left, so.
Okay, and any other comments from other board members? Paula has said that was her indication.
So are we denying this petition?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And do we still have?
That's it.
I guess I just want to make sure all the board members agree.
I confirm.
Thank you.
Okay. Is Brian still on?
No.
No, okay. Nancy Cameron, I concur. That gives us 3 of us.
All right.
And that being the last item on our agenda, this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
all for your
Thank
patience
you.
today.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye.
afternoon.
Thanks.
Enjoy
Have a
the
good
last of the
afternoon,
nice
everyone.
weather.
What we have left of the nice weather.
Right. Enjoy
Right.
what's left of the nice weather.
Bye, guys.